In 1865, Gregor Mendel proposed a mathematically precise model for how traits are passed down through generations. He argued that inheritance was controlled by stable, discrete units, what he called factors, and that these units did not blend together, but rather maintained their distinct identities. Despite the rigor of his experiments, this model of inheritance went completely unrecognized by the scientific community. It sat in obscurity for 35 years, until 1900. The delay had very little to do with the quality of Mendel's mathematics. He was simply working across a technological gap that made his invisible factors impossible to verify. 4 specific barriers kept his work in the dark. First, communication in the mid-19th century was slow, preventing his findings from reaching a wide audience. Second, biologists at the time observed continuous variation in nature, a smooth blending of traits, so they actively rejected Mendel's idea of discrete, non-blending alleles. Third, Mendel's methodology was highly unusual. Applying strict statistical mathematics to explain biological phenomena was a completely foreign approach to 19th century biologists. Finally, the most critical issue, Mendel could not point to any physical proof for the existence of his factors. He had no way to show what they were actually made of. In 1900, 3 scientists, de Vries, Correns, and von Tschermak, independently reproduced Mendel's results. The mathematical debate was settled. The new challenge was to find the physical mechanism inside the cell that executed this math. Right around the time Mendel's work was rediscovered, rapid advancements in microscopy finally gave scientists the ability to observe the actual mechanics of cell division. Looking inside the nucleus, they observed dense, thread-like structures that appeared to double and divide just before the cell itself split. Because scientists had to use specific chemical stains to make them visible under the lens, these structures were named chromosomes, literally meaning colored bodies. Biology finally had a tangible candidate. These dividing physical structures could potentially be the hardware running Mendel's theoretical software. By 1902, Walter Sutton and Theodore Boveri mapped out the exact movement of these chromosomes during meiosis. They noticed that chromosomal behavior perfectly mirrored the behavior of Mendelian genes. First, chromosomes and genetic factors both pair at homologous sites. During anaphase 1, these pairs align independently. This means multiple separation outcomes. In possibility 1, specific colors segregate together. In possibility 2, the orange chromosome segregates with red instead. This matches Mendel's independent assortment. Sutton united this chromosomal segregation with Mendelian principles. He argued that the physical pairing and separation of chromosomes dictates the segregation of the genetic factors they carry. This became the chromosomal theory of inheritance. Following this synthesis, Thomas Hunt Morgan and his colleagues set out to experimentally verify the theory by tracking the results of sexual reproduction. They chose the tiny fruit fly, Drosophila melanogaster, as their model organism. These flies can be grown on simple synthetic media in the lab, complete their entire life cycle in just 2 weeks, and a single mating produces a massive number of progeny. Furthermore, male and female flies are clearly physically distinct, and they exhibit many types of hereditary variations that are easily identifiable even under low-power microscopes. Morgan performed a series of dihybrid crosses to study specific traits. In one key experiment, he hybridized yellow-bodied, white-eyed females with brown-bodied, red-eyed males, and then intercrossed their F1 generation offspring. This table shows the expected mathematical results versus Morgan's actual data. If the traits assorted independently, the F2 generation should yield a strict 9:3 to 3:1 ratio. But Morgan's data deviated massively from this expectation. The 2 genes were not separating independently. The physical reality of chromosomes had just overwritten Mendel's absolute mathematical rule. Science now had to explain why certain genetic factors refused to separate. Morgan realized the genes for yellow bodies and white eyes were on the exact same X chromosome, physically stuck together. He coined linkage for this physical association. Because they are tethered, linked genes are inherited together, resulting in mostly parental gene combinations. Conversely, he used the term recombination to describe the generation of non-parental gene combinations. When genes are tightly linked on the same chromosome, recombination occurs far less frequently. Linkage demonstrated that genes aren't floating freely in a cellular void. Their physical proximity on a solid chromosomal structure dictates inheritance, superseding independent assortment. Morgan found linkage varies. Cross A shows white and yellow genes tightly linked, yielding 1.3% recombination. Cross B shows loosely linked genes at 37.2%. His student, Alfred Sturtevant, used these frequencies to measure physical distance, mapping precise spatial positions along the chromosome. Sturtevant's early genetic maps laid the groundwork for modern genomics. Today, mapping genetic positions is the essential starting point for sequencing entire genomes using advanced technology. This direct methodology eventually culminated in massive biological endeavors, like the Human Genome Sequencing Project. By anchoring Mendel's mathematical abstractions to physical structures, these biologists proved the material existence of genes and established the spatial mapping techniques used to decode the blueprint of human life. We are introduced to genetics as a system of simple on and off switches, but that binary logic fails to explain human biology. That binary framework comes directly from the foundational work of Gregor Mendel. Working in this abbey in the mid-19th century, Mendel studied traits that behaved with distinct mathematical predictability. He documented traits with distinct alternate forms. A flower was either purple or white. This established a strict one-to-one mapping, one gene dictating one single phenotype. The limitation of this model becomes obvious when we look at human populations. We rarely encounter traits strictly divided into two distinct alternatives. We do not categorize humans as simply tall or short. Height exists across a smooth, infinite spectrum of possibilities. We also observe the reverse anomaly. A single genetic mutation frequently triggers a cascade of diseases across multiple bodily systems, breaking the one-to-one rule entirely. To accurately map how human traits are actually inherited, we have to discard that strict baseline. Instead, we must construct two entirely different biological architectures, many-to-one convergence and one-to-many divergence. Traits spread across a continuous gradient are known as polygenic traits. They occur because the phenotype is controlled by 3 or more genes working in tandem. Human skin color provides the definitive biological model for this network. The mechanics rely on a specific rule. The effect of each allele is purely additive. There is no biological blending. Instead, each allele deposits a discrete, measurable unit of effect. We can see how this builds a gradient using 3 hypothetical genes, A, B, and C. We assign dominant forms, capital A, B, C, to dark pigment, and recessive forms, lowercase a, b, c, to light pigment. A genotype with exclusively dominant alleles, AABBCC, produces the darkest skin color, filling the biological accumulator completely. Conversely, a strictly recessive genotype, AABBCD, generates the lightest skin color, depositing 0 dominant doses. An equal mix of 3 dominant and 3 recessive alleles, like AABBCD, yields an intermediate color. The quantity of dominant alleles is the critical factor. AABBCC and AABBCC produce identical outputs because the additive dose is exactly the same. When you plot out every possible additive combination of these discrete genetic doses, from 0 to 6, a normal distribution naturally emerges across a population. These mathematical steps are then subjected to environmental influence. Exposure to sunlight modulates the genetic baseline, smoothing the discrete steps into a seamless gradient. Polygenic inheritance is the architecture of convergence. Multiple distinct genetic nodes pool their resources into one unified, measurable trait. We must also account for the exact opposite structural mechanism. What happens when a single gene dictates multiple, distinct phenotypic expressions? This biological phenomenon is known as pleiotropy. Pleiotropic genes are not multitasking. They typically code for vital enzymes that drive foundational metabolic pathways. When a foundational step breaks, every downstream process that relies on it fails. The human disease phenylketonuria provides a clear case study for this one-to-many architecture. The disease originates from a single point of failure, a mutation in the gene producing the enzyme phenylalanine hydroxylase. With that enzyme shattered, the biochemical bottleneck manifests in severe neurological consequences, specifically mental retardation. The broken pathway causes a downstream biochemical starvation, which directly reduces hair pigmentation. Systemic starvation from that initial point of failure also leads to a quantifiable reduction in skin pigmentation. On the surface, neurological damage and superficial pigmentation changes appear entirely unconnected, yet they share the exact same root cause. Pleiotropy is the architecture of divergence, a single genetic error cascading outward to alter multiple separate traits. These two structural models, the many-to-one convergence and the one-to-many divergence, effectively replace the basic Mendelian baseline. But inside a living organism, these systems do not operate in isolation. Polygenic accumulation and pleiotropy cascades are occurring simultaneously. Human biology is not built from a collection of isolated binary switches. It is an integrated, deeply interdependent biochemical network. To accurately map the human genome, we have to look past the individual letters of our DNA and map the complex architecture of the pathways they create.